Live from the Buffalo Wild Wings studios, it's time to get locked into the best Sooner recruiting and football news with Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up.
Hit the guys up on the Riverwind Casino call-in line at 405-329-9000 or text the show on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
Do it! Just do it!
Now, with Locked In, here's Parker Thune and Grayson Singleton.
No news. Is it good news? Is it bad news? What is no news as we get ready to conclude the month of July? Folks, Oklahoma continues to await decisions from 4 remaining targets that are uncommitted in the 2026 cycle. Jake Krell, the 4-star defensive end from Orlando, Florida. Davian Groce, the 4-star wide receiver from Frisco, Texas. Elijah Golden, the 4-star defensive lineman originally from the state of Virginia, now playing at Cardinal Mooney High School in Florida. And T-Ron Richardson, the 3-star defensive tackle from Hopewell, Virginia. Grayson Singleton, there is nothing to report, really, on any of those 4 recruitments. We're in a holding pattern, at least until Elijah Golden makes his decision. We have a timeline, a concrete timeline on that. He will announce on August 9th, which is next Saturday. So, not going to have to wait too much longer before we know whether Oklahoma will have another addition to the 2026 recruiting cycle. But in the meantime, man, starting to feel a little bit antsy, waiting for something to come across the wire.
Let's do this, Parker. Let's give the people some sort of entertainment to go off of.
Okay.
While we do this. T-Ron Richardson, Elijah Golden, Jake Krell, Davian Groce. Rank them. I want you to rank them based on your confidence that they end up with Oklahoma.
Ooh, this is interesting. Okay. I would say I am most confident Oklahoma lands Davian Groce.
Okay, good start.
I would rank Jake Krell number 2. I would probably say T-Ron Richardson number 3, Elijah Golden number 4. All right, to me, there is a greater than 50% chance that Oklahoma lands Groce, Krell, and Richardson each individually. Golden is the only one where I'm not sold on Oklahoma being the leader right now. They're in a neck-and-neck battle with Notre Dame. Oklahoma has really closed the gap, but you have to start to wonder, is it kind of going to be like the Jordan Clay saga, for instance, where Oklahoma makes up a ton of ground late in the process but doesn't quite make up enough, and the longtime leader in the recruitment is able to hold the line and come away with his pledge. I fear that could be the case with Elijah Golden. Also, his last name is Golden, right? So Notre Dame seems to make a lot of sense.
It makes perfect sense. No, it really does. And it's interesting that you brought that up because to me, just knowing the trends here, I would agree with you that Elijah Golden, you're probably not sold on him coming to Oklahoma. The one that's making me antsy, though, believe it or not, is going to be Davian Groce. That's the one that's going to continue to make me antsy because it makes the most sense that he commit to Oklahoma. Relationship with Emmett Jones, pretty solid. Baylor is in a situation where they just signed a 4-star wide receiver, Jordan Clay. Well, got his commitment. Let me rephrase that. So it makes the most sense, especially given how key in his recruitment proximity to home is.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the most sense that he ends up in Oklahoma's class. So you keep asking yourself, what's the delay? What's the delay? And you could use the same logic with Krell, even though I think that this is such a defensive-minded staff that I think they would be in better position as it pertains to Krell versus Groce to lock down Krell. But when it comes to Groce, it's something in the back of my mind is like, what's going on here? What is Baylor up to? What is Florida up to that is making this such a hard decision that, given the circumstances that he finds important and the circumstances around recruitment of everybody else, this should be something that should have been made by now?
Rivals national recruiting analyst Sam Spiegelman reported last week, and we discussed it, that Groce was trending towards a decision by the end of the month. Well, today is the last day of the month, Grayson. Still nothing from Groce. And since it is the last day of the month, you know what that means.
KREF Recruiter of the Month.
It's time to hand out the KREF Recruiter of the Month award, and I'm happy to report that it's going to be a very simple process this month because there is only one candidate. Oklahoma only picked up one commitment in the month of July. Therefore, via the addition of 4-star tight end Tyler Ruxer,
No way we're doing this.
your July Recruiter of the Month, folks. Your KREF Recruiter of the Month for the month of July,
No.
uncontested, is Joe John Finley.
Text line, do your thing in 3, 2, 1.
No. We don't even have to have a Joe John Finley positivity hour, but the rest of this segment has to be a Joe John Finley positivity segment. No Joe John Finley slander for the next 10 minutes. Hold off. 405-651-3439 is the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. The show is brought to you today and every day by Dorsey Jones GMC out in El Reno, family-owned and operated. Low-pressure sales environment out there. GMC obviously offers some of the most reliable trucks and SUVs on the road today. And guess what? You can also get a half-price oil change on Saturdays out there at Dorsey Jones GMC, which is a heck of a deal these days. You can get anything for half price in this economy. You take full advantage. So, go do that at Dorsey Jones GMC in El Reno. It is Texas A&M Takeover Day here on the Ref. Got completely tongue-twisted there. SEC takeovers are presented by Landers CDJR. When you choose Landers, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram and Norman, you're not just getting a great vehicle, you're supporting a dealership that cares about the community. More than just a dealership, a proud member of the Norman community. That's Landers CDJR. You can check them out at landerscdjrnorman.com. Boy, have there been some classic battles on the trail over the years between Oklahoma and Texas A&M. And even some that precede our time, Grayson Singleton. The infamous story, of course, is that Brian Bosworth was at one time committed to Texas A&M until Barry Switzer showed up at his school in a mink coat and successfully flipped him. But in the modern era, especially in the NIL era, many Oklahoma recruiting fanatics have grown to absolutely detest Texas A&M. Because Texas A&M, over the last several cycles in particular, has repeatedly outfoxed and outflanked Oklahoma in some of the most high-profile recruiting battles in which the Sooners have been involved. We all remember where we were on David Hicks Day, don't we? September 28th, 2022. What a fateful afternoon that was, when the Aggies stole David Hicks, the 5-star defensive lineman from Katy, Texas, at the 11th hour, when the expectation across the board, regardless of who you talk to, regardless of which reporters' coverage you followed, the expectation all the way across the board was that David Hicks was going to commit to the University of Oklahoma. There weren't even any Texas A&M reporters present for his announcement. That's how much of a foregone conclusion it was that he was going to be an Oklahoma Sooner. And this is a kid that's from Katy, which is a heck of a lot closer to College Station than Norman, Oklahoma.
Right.
LT Overton, remember him? Oklahoma legacy, son of former Oklahoma lineman Milton Overton, who played for the Sooners in the mid-'90s. He was a 5-star in the 2022 cycle. He reclassified from 23, was originally the number 1 overall prospect in that cycle before reclassifying. That one went down to the wire. It was OU Texas A&M. Texas A&M won the battle. A 214 listener chimed in to say, outfoxed or outpaid? Well, yes, in many cases. We know why DJ Hicks swung from Oklahoma to Texas A&M at the very end, right? And you can pretty well guess why Texas A&M has been able to claim so many of these victories over Oklahoma in recent years on the recruiting trail. How about a former OU commit in the 2026 cycle? Jonathan Hatton, the outstanding running back from Cibolo High School down in the San Antonio area, was pledged to Oklahoma for well over a year. Backed off that commitment this winter, wound up committing to Texas A&M about 3 months later. So, man, I mean, I would have to back this up with statistics, and I would have to do some research that I have neither the time nor the inclination to do right now. But I would have to think Oklahoma has probably fought more head-to-head battles with A&M on the recruiting cycle over the last 5 years than probably any other institution, especially when you're talking about guys of the five-star persuasion. Talked about Hicks, talked about LT Overton. What about Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy? Five-star defensive lineman that was committed to Oklahoma for a long, long time in the 2022 recruiting cycle. Calvin Thibodeau is not retained by Brent Venables upon the staff shakeup in December of 2021. And Brownlow-Dindy flips to Texas A&M. He's now at South Carolina, by the way. But that was a commitment, a very high-profile commitment that Oklahoma lost in the 2022 cycle because of the staff shakeup at the hands of the Aggies.
Our team takeover clip, by the way, just to give you a preview of it, that's going to be coming in about 10 minutes, has to do with that 2022 class.
Does it really?
Yes, it does.
Oh, man.
It really does.
What was it, 8, 9 5-stars?
I think it was 8.
Blake from Wasso said, Terry Bussey, another Aggie OU battle. Yeah, A&M kind of always led for Terry Bussey. But Emmett Jones, man. Emmett Jones and OU made a run. They made things interesting with Terry Bussey. And it was crazy. At the time, this was the 2024 recruiting cycle. It was about this time of year. I think it was early August that Terry Bussey committed. At the time, Oklahoma already had 5 wide receiver commits. Terry Bussey was going to be number 6.
Okay, at that point, and I know fans are not happy that you lost a commit, obviously. But why would you become the 6th wide receiver in a particular class?
Because Terry Bussey was a freak show and would have played over pretty much all of those.
Oh, no. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Because to me, it's like, okay, unless you know definitively that you're going to be better than all those dudes, why would you go be the 6th one in the class? I get from Oklahoma's standpoint why you would want to take him, but that doesn't sound like the greatest business move unless, like you said, he's just head and shoulders the alpha in the room.
He is one of the greatest and most decorated players in the history of Texas high school football, which is saying a lot.
That is saying a ton.
That dude did everything. If you go back and you look at Terry Bussey's high school statistics at Timpson High out in East Texas, it's obscene, man. This guy was going for 500 all-purpose yards and 8 touchdowns literally every single week. He was unstoppable. 832 Mike says, I'm still waiting for a Jones wide receiver to do something. Okay, well, guess what, 832 Mike? All of the Jones wide receivers were true freshmen last year. They're guys that shouldn't have had to play. Ivan Carrion, Zion Kearney, Zion Reagans, even Jacob Jordan, those guys shouldn't have had to see the field for Oklahoma last season. They did because of the myriad injuries that Oklahoma dealt with at receiver. But guess what? You may still be waiting a while for an Emmett Jones wide receiver to do something because Emmett Jones has only been on Oklahoma's staff since January of 2023. As it stands right now, he has a total of 6 receivers on Oklahoma's roster, all of whom are no older than sophomores. I mean, if you want to give him credit for transfers, if you're willing to give him credit for transfers, if you want to call Giovanni Gibson an Emmett Jones wide receiver, you want to call Deion Burks an Emmett Jones wide receiver.
That was going to be my thought.
Then, hey, we might have a different conversation on our hands. But if you're just looking for a guy that Emmett Jones recruited out of high school, honestly, your best bet in the 2025 season for somebody that may pop off, it might be Elijah Thomas. It could very well be. But it's Elijah Thomas, it's Manny Choice. It's the 2 Zions, Ivan Carrion and KJ Daniels. All of them are sophomores or younger. So it's not like the clock is ticking, 832 Mike. At least it shouldn't be.
If Deion Burks becomes a second-round pick and has, let's say he puts up 950, 1,000 yards this year, Emmett Jones, I think, gets some credit for that, does he not?
Oh, he absolutely does.
Because he would have taken that leap to the NFL under the tutelage of Emmett Jones.
I detest this text from Psychonaut Sooner. Emmett Jones is insanely overrated. 2.5 years, and our wide receiver room is an unsustainable disaster. Psychonaut Sooner, do you not recall the year of our Lord 2023? Because before everybody and their second cousin got hurt in 2024, which is something that neither Emmett Jones nor any other coach on Oklahoma's staff could help. In the year 2023, let me remind you what happened. Oklahoma's leading receiver throughout the first half of the campaign, a guy that was on pace for 1,000 yards had he remained healthy, was Andrell Anthony, who had caught one pass the previous year at Michigan. One pass. Drake Stoops, under Emmett Jones' tutelage, and if you go back and you listen to some of Drake Stoops' press conferences and media availabilities in the 2023 season, Drake Stoops gives Emmett Jones immense credit for his development as a wide receiver. Drake Stoops took the jump from being a role player for Oklahoma in 2022 to being a borderline 1,000-yard guy. He had 962 receiving yards in 2023. Nick Anderson had been plagued by injury throughout his true freshman season in 2022, had not caught a pass going into the year 2023. He tied an OU freshman record, or did he outright set the OU freshman record for receiving touchdowns? Nick Anderson was a big play machine all season. Jaden Gibson was a head case when Emmett Jones showed up. Jaden Gibson, all he really did in 2022 was he saw like 2 special team snaps a game and then would try to scrap with one of the opposing gunners as he was walking off the field. I mean, Jaden Gibson was just flat out annoying in 2022. Didn't make any impact on the field. Didn't catch a pass. 2023 rolls around. Not only does Jaden Gibson become a model citizen, but he also becomes a guy that factors into the picture for Oklahoma in a rotational, sporadic capacity as somebody that you could count on for a big play seemingly every game. I think he only caught 14 passes that year, but you felt every single one of those 14 catches. Jaden Gibson made some of the most memorable plays of Oklahoma's 2023 campaign on the offensive side of the ball. So if we want to look at data, if we want to look at the evidence that supports Emmett Jones being a capable wide receivers coach as opposed to somebody that's just collecting a check and sitting on his laurels, I can present a case that is 10 times more compelling than yours. Because your case, Psychonaut Sooner, revolves around the reality that everyone was hurt in 2024. And more often than not, the quarterbacks didn't even have time to let things develop downfield because they were getting pressured from all directions. So I absolutely refuse to stand for any Emmett Jones slander because I believe it is entirely out of place.
4-star Sooner Bump says, block 832 Mike and also block Psychonaut Sooner. No, we will not block them. Speaking of 832 Mike, he said, you guys talk like Burks has done something incredible. I'm not saying he won't, but he has not yet. Dude was good at Purdue. Yes, Purdue. Let me throw that logic back at you, 832 Mike, and you're going to hate me for this. And I think Parker knows where I'm going with this.
I do.
Don't you throw up in your mouth when people use that same logic for John Mateer. It's the same. That's the exact same thing that people who aren't too high on John Mateer say, well, he was good at Washington State of all places. It's the exact same logic. And here's the thing with Burks, too. I will say this. He has been on the radar of NFL scouts for a while.
Yes, he has.
This is not just us pontificating about the production that Deion Burks is capable of.
Going into 2024, there were a lot of folks saying
he could be a first-round pick.
Yeah, he could be a first-round pick if he has a good year.
Yes.
Obviously, that didn't happen. He had to run it back for Oklahoma in 2025. But Deion Burks has immense potential. And you're right. You said it. Dude was good at Purdue. That's kind of my point.
Which is also
832
a
Mike.
Big Ten school.
Yeah, correct. It's not as if, and you drew the parallel to John Mateer at Washington State, and it's a reasonable comparison, but it's not a perfect comparison because here's why. Washington State played a G5 schedule last year.
Yes, Washington State was the remnant of the Pac-12.
Deion Burks at Purdue had to go up against Big Ten defenses every year. If you know anything about the Big Ten, if you've watched Big Ten football over the years, that's still a league that prides itself broadly on playing strong defense. And there are plenty of programs in the in the conference that do play very strong defense. And Deion Burks had to go up against those defenses as a member of the Purdue Boilermakers. And there was not a ton of help for him.
Who was his quarterback? Was it Aiden O'Connell?
Did he overlap with Aiden O'Connell? I can't even recall. But
He may not have.
Purdue was not good. Deion Burks was good. Deion Burks was good enough that when he hit the transfer portal in the offseason, the winter of 2023-24, he was the number one available wide receiver. So, Deion Burks is no scrub. And I don't think it's a diss to say dude was good at Purdue. He was good at Purdue. And that is all the evidence you should need that if healthy, he is capable of being very good at the University of Oklahoma. Okay, 405-651-3439. More OU fall camp talk coming up on the other side. We'll hit more of your texts because, boy, are they flying in. 405-651-3439 is the number. Keep hitting us up. You're listening to The Ref, the home of Sooner fans.
I'm Noble McIntyre, and I'm the father of 3 daughters. Protecting them has been my highest priority.
Protecting the vulnerable should be the responsibility of all of us. Every year, thousands enter residential treatment facilities seeking safety and care.
Reports of abuse, including sexual and physical abuse of minors in their care, have plagued these institutions for years. Major facilities have been investigated, shut down, and staff convicted, but the problem persists.
If you or a loved one have suffered abuse, call McIntyre Law at 405-777-7000.
This is Mark Van Hoos, owner of Van Hoos Fence. Van Hoos Fence has years of experience and proven superior performance, kind of like a certain head ball coach.
We know Van Hoos Fence offers the best value and service for your residential, commercial, or sports fencing needs. Whether it's a new install or repair work, let Mark and his team at Van Hoos Fence be your trusted resource.
Call us today at 405-735-1167.
Save yourself from Googling it up. Go to vhfence.com. They will work with you in a great way.
Beats and Bites Festival is back again at Riverwind Casino, where good grooves and great food are on tap all summer long. Join us August 9th for Kansas and Starship.
Whether you're from out of town or live here year-round, Visit Norman encourages you to shop local this summer. Visit Cayman's on Main Street, your one-stop shopping for men's and women's clothing and accessories, designer jewelry, cosmetics, and home decor, featuring Peter Millar, Johnny O, Rag & Bone, John Hardy, and much more at Cayman's. Wonderhouse Design and Consign for window covering, upholstery fabric, wallpaper, furniture consignment, and more. Locally owned and operated with a constant rotation of new and unique pieces, Wonderhouse Design and Consign is always worth a stop. Grab some friends and head over to Westwood Family Aquatic Center. Don't wait to grab a season pass for exclusive access to all the summer fun Westwood Family Aquatic Center has to offer. Keep the good times going in Norman all summer when you eat, shop, and play local.
Football is almost back, and nobody will have you prepped for the SEC ride in 2025 quite like the home of Sooner fans. With the Ref's SEC Team Takeover, brought to you by lender CDJR. Drop the dog days of summer monotony with 3 straight weeks of the Ref's SEC Team Takeover from July 21st through August 8th, as we give a full-day analysis on every conference rival in the Sooners' new frontier of the Southeast Conference. With the Ref's SEC Team Takeover, brought to you by lenders CDJR. When you choose Landers, Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram of Norman, you're not just getting a great vehicle. You're supporting a dealership that cares about the community. Landers, CDJR, where community and commitment drive us forward. That's the Ref's SEC Team Takeover. The Ref, the home of Sooner fans, and your home to be SEC ready. The Ref Sports Radio Network.
Hi Norman, it's DJ Newsom with Alliance Bank, your community-driven, friendly neighborhood bank. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur, lead a nonprofit organization, or just someone seeking a better banking experience, we've got you covered. From business to personal banking, we tailor our services to suit everyone's needs. We believe in making banking easy and enjoyable. Visit our Norman location or call us today at 405-286-5750. Alliance Bank, banking tailored to your needs. Member FDIC.
The returns are in for the vaunted 2022 Texas A&M recruiting class, and it's a mixed bag to say the least. Defensive end Shamar Stewart and defensive tackle Walter Nolan were first-round picks this year, though Nolan had transferred to Ole Miss. Former five-stars Evan Stewart and L.T. Overton have also since transferred to Oregon and Alabama, respectively, and have become excellent college football players. Those were certainly excellent evaluations, but the rest of the class, not so much, as most of the 30 signees haven't made a name for themselves in college football. The last hope for another successful college career is running back Le'Veon Moss, who was a preseason All-SEC pick.
I forget who it was that officially publicized the story, but this was absolutely a real thing that happened at Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher would just scroll through the recruiting rankings on 24/7 Sports and tell his staff to go recruit the top guys. That's all it was. There was no actual evaluation happening. He's like, oh, here's a 5-star. 24/7 thinks he's a 5-star. Let's go recruit him. And that was how Texas A&M built that 2022 recruiting class. And that, folks, is why Oklahoma hired Jim Nagy. That is why most programs are maintaining increasingly robust scouting and personnel departments. Because when you aren't actually watching tape and your program is being run by an individual who cares more about signing the number one recruiting class than having the number one team in the country and developing a roster that can be worthy of the number one designation in college football, that's when you get yourself into trouble and wind up on the hook for $75 million of dead money.
And I mean, look, they brought in some good players. They in fact did bring in some good players. They also brought in some wild characters, i.e. Denver Harris was also in that class. A texter in the 405 says, "What's up, puppies? Parker on his knees for Emmett Jones again."
Oh, boy.
All them guys did so good. Emmett Jones first. Whoa, bro. Whoa. All them guys that did so good, EJ. I don't even know what this is. What Emmett Jones didn't coach none of the guys that weren't hurt last year. Emmett Jones is garbage. What did you expect Drake Stoops to say?
What he tried to say is that all those guys that did good in Emmett Jones' first year were developed by someone else.
I promise you I did not have a stroke reading that. That was just poorly typed.
It was poorly typed. Pray tell, who developed Jaden Gibson? Who developed Nick Anderson? Who developed Andrell Anthony? If you're giving someone else other than Emmett Jones credit for the development of those three in particular, I would love to know who that is. Who developed Drake Stoops? Why don't you ask Drake Stoops that question? He'll give credit to Cale Gundy, no doubt. He may give some credit to LaDamian Washington, who coached Oklahoma's wide receivers on an interim capacity in 2022. I promise you, he will give a ton of credit to Emmett Jones. Yeah, that 405 listener said, Cale Gundy developed those guys. Cale Gundy never overlapped with Andrell Anthony at the University of Oklahoma. Cale Gundy overlapped with Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson for 6 months apiece, I believe.
And not the best version of Jaden Gibson either.
Nope. So if you want to give credit to Cale Gundy, you can give Cale Gundy credit for evaluating those guys. You can give credit to Cale Gundy for seeing those guys out of high school and deciding, okay, yep, that's somebody that's worthy of playing football at the University of Oklahoma. Let's go get him. If you want to give Cale Gundy credit for the evaluation, more power to you. But Cale Gundy never had much of a chance to really mold Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson as football players, and he never touched Andrell Anthony. Never had the chance to. Sorry, what's up?
One-star Eric the Mets fan says, Parker would probably defend John Blake at this point. Hope you're willing to admit a mistake.
If Emmett Jones turns out to be completely worthless, I will be more than happy to admit my mistake. Here's what I've seen through 2 seasons of Emmett Jones at the University of Oklahoma. I have seen a wide receiver room that as a whole took a quantum leap forward in 2023 under Emmett Jones' direction. And I have seen a wide receiver room in 2024 that was ravaged by injury. And neither Emmett Jones nor pretty much any other wide receiver coach on the planet could have done much with that room. Not only given the circumstances they're in, but the circumstances across the rest of the offense.
Tim from Chickasee says, Anthony played like 5 games for OU. How can we say what he was or wasn't?
Did you watch the 5 games he played?
I was about to say. I was living in Stillwater at the time, and I took notice of Andrew Anthony.
Bingo.
He would have been a Biletnikoff Award, finalist. Had that season kept going the way it was.
He was on pace for 1,000 yards.
Yes.
Glenn from Nashville says, Parker, but what happened in the 24 season? You say that the wide receiver room suffered a lot of injuries. Aside from Jaden Gibson's knee injury that required surgery, the other injuries, best of my recollection, did not require any type of procedure. Yet those receivers quit and would not get on the field. Now we can't get commits. I want to like Jones, but it just seems like there's bad juju in the wide receiver room these days. Let's run down those injuries. Deion Burks was dealing with a hamstring injury. He was also dealing with a concussion.
Yeah.
We know how touch-and-go concussions can be. Andrell Anthony had, I kid you not, 6 ACL surgeries.
It's like, what are we doing
6
here?
procedures on the ACL. Nick Anderson, he had a procedure, and I think he had multiple procedures. I can't quite recall all of what Nick Anderson had or didn't have surgically. His injury was serious.
Yeah.
And it was legitimate, and it did require surgical repair. Jalil Farouk broke his foot.
Uh-huh.
So that's what cost him 8 weeks of action. A broken foot suffered in the first game of the season. Are there any others that warrant a mention? Any other injuries that I neglected to discuss? Because I promise you, it's not as if those receivers on that 2024 roster were fully healthy, just sitting there on the sidelines, chilling, cashing their NIL checks.
Yeah, that's bananas. That's bananas to me.
Powder Puff says, can y'all please quit reading these idiots' texts? They obviously have no clue what they're talking about. I feel like I talk in circles about this whole wide receiver predicament every so often. I feel like I wind up having the same conversations with folks on the text line every few weeks. Sooner Bump says, this has to be the dumbest 30 minutes of text. Yeah, somebody in the 405 followed up and said, why did they all transfer then? They transferred because Oklahoma didn't want to pay Andrell Anthony after 6 ACL surgeries. Can you blame them?
And also, let's throw this in mind too, especially with Farouk, Anthony, and Anderson. Those are injuries that those guys should have been back from. With what we have litigated about the medical staff and the way that they kind of screwed that thing up, would you want to stay here with that staff?
And that's why Nick Anderson left?
I don't blame either one of them for transferring after you went through that in 2024.
When Jalil Farouk got in the portal, he already knew where he was going, and he got substantially more money to go there.
Didn't he also go back closer to home, too?
He did. He's from Maryland.
Yeah.
He wound up at the University of Maryland. Turnpike Sooner says, good grief. Is this Emmett Jones hate hour? Apparently so. That's what it's morphed into. Glenn from Nashville says, to the dude that just implied I'm an idiot, Parker neglected to read the part of my text where I said that Teddy has implied many times on these airwaves that the receiver room quit in 2024. I'm not being a hater. Ask Teddy about it. Look, that may be your interpretation of what Teddy has said, and I would be lying if I've been privy to every single thing Teddy has said on these airwaves about the receiver room. I'm just telling you, objectively, you don't even have to delve into conspiracy theories, the realm of conspiracy theories here. Jalil Farouk did break his foot. Deion Burks did suffer a concussion. Andrell Anthony did have 6 ACL surgeries. These are things that objectively happened. Oh, Jolly Boy in Amarillo says, almost as dumb of a conversation as the guy that, and now I lost the text. Almost as dumb of a conversation as the guy that couldn't believe we have good O-line starting and good ones on the bench. LOL. Yeah, I'm glad we can get around to kind of turning the page on the whole wide receiver conversation because I brought it up yesterday, but I think it's worth mentioning once again. Derek Simmons is somebody for whom there was a lot of praise yesterday at OU's local media day. 6'5", 317 pounds, a native of Shepherdstown, West Virginia. He spent a year at Tusculum University, D2 school in Tennessee. Spent a year at Abilene Christian, spent the last 3 at Western Carolina. Now he'll spend his 6th year of college football at the University of Oklahoma. And if Derek Simmons is everything that he was cracked up to be yesterday, and I know you've been on the Derek Simmons bandwagon a long, long time, man, how much better does that make you feel about the offensive picture for Oklahoma in 2025 if you have Sexton and Simmons as reliable bookends?
By the way, before I get to that, Mark in the YouTube chat says, Grayson, do you got any eligibility left? Looks like Oklahoma needs some wide receiver help. I have not gotten hit since freshman year.
Why'd you ask Grayson and not me? Interesting how that goes.
Oh, man. Derek Simmons, I think, man, if he is all he is cracked up to be, if he backs up the praise that he's gotten from the staff, if he backs up the projection that I've had for him, Oklahoma's offense can be pretty deadly this year. That's what it comes down to, is that if he actually plays well in the SEC, and by the way, even if he doesn't play exceptionally well, this is not a bad eval by Oklahoma because multiple SEC teams were after him. So it wasn't just Oklahoma shooting into the breeze and trying to be a lone ranger here. If he bookends that right tackle spot and there is no fluctuation or minimal fluctuation at that spot this year, Oklahoma can win 9 games. I think that's what that comes down to. Oklahoma can move the ball against the elite defenses in the SEC. That's why I think he is wholly pivotal to Oklahoma's offensive rebound that they're trying to have in 2025.
Gosh, this season needs to get here, man. Can't even say nice things about one of the transfers without somebody on the text line, in this case a listener from California, going, the expectations are so low now, post-Riley. All you talk about is how D2 transfers are the savior. It's truly saddening to see the fall of this program. Can't even say nice things about Derek Simmons. A verified source on the text line. And see, a verified source is an excellent texter because I know for a fact, having had discussions in the past with a verified source who hails from the Midwest, that this is an individual with some actual NFL connections. Like, this is your more qualified, more informed radio listener.
So he actually is a verified source.
Yeah, that's why he goes by that name.
Oh, I thought it was just a moniker.
Yeah, no, he is actually verified. On the text line, he says, Derek Simmons is a day 2 talent, and that's really good. Now, obviously, he has to put it on tape this fall at Oklahoma. But he's got prototypical size, right? 6'5", in the neighborhood of 320. A very strong track record. Albeit at the FCS level, he did not allow a sack last year and over 400 pass protection snaps. And so if he is the same player at Oklahoma in 2025 that he was at Western Carolina in 2024, you are probably looking at an NFL draft pick in Derek Simmons.
Let me ask everybody this. You guys follow baseball, right? You're going to follow minor league baseball because Kyson Witherspoon and others are now in it. When you exceed and put up numbers like that at that kind of level, what generally happens? You get called up to the next level. In this case, Derek Simmons, over 400 pass blocking snaps and no sacks allowed. What do you think the natural circle of life is going to be?
Oh, my goodness,
He's
man.
probably not going to stay at Western Carolina. He's probably going to go up to a higher level and possibly play well.
It's a phenomenal point, man, because I just don't understand why some people can't apply that same rhetoric to college football. You think Royals fans back in May were watching Jack Caglione mash in Omaha and thinking, yeah, he's all right, but come on, can he crack it? Can he crack it in the big leagues?
Well, I mean, he hasn't been that great.
Lost City Sooner says, stop with your logic, Grayson. Denver from Indiana adds, dang, Grayson is defending OU. Hell froze over.
Dude, at my heart, I'm a talk radio host. That's what I am in my heart. And I say what I think, and I say what my eyes tell me.
832 Mike says, I agree with you, Parker. That D2 guy, D2 guys can be good, But please keep your regular voice because you sound like an idiot reading it like a sad person. That was kind of the point, 832 Mike. When I read idiotic text, I read them in idiot voices. It's how we roll. So don't send a dumb text. If I use an idiot voice for your text, it means I thought the text was dumb. 405-651-3439 is where you can chime in if you haven't already. And boy, we have a legion of texts that we have yet to dig into. So we'll go back to the text line. Coming up next, OU's first practice was this morning. Football is upon us in Norman, Oklahoma. What a time it is. Keep it here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans. We shall return.
A true Sooner fan wouldn't be caught dead without the KREF app. Join the Army. Get the app. Tell your friends. This is the Ref, where diehard Sooner fans listen.
Bob Hurley RV is the largest family-owned and operated full-service RV dealership in Oklahoma. Conveniently located on the east side of I-35 between Wilshire and Britton, our dealership has over 400 new and used RVs in stock with options in all price ranges. Need financing? Bob Hurley has 27 RV lenders and terms up to 240 months. Need service? Bob Hurley RV has 36 bays and our state-of-the-art service department. Come see us at Bob Hurley RV, the Oklahoma football tailgate headquarters. What other dealers say is impossible, we do every day.
Hi, Teddy Lehman here for Titan Title and Closing. And when I played for OU, I knew I could trust my teammates. And when you're making the biggest decision of your life, like selling or buying your home, you want a team you can trust. That's why you can call my teammate, Devry.
Thanks, Teddy. As one of the partners here in Norman at Titan Title and Closing, I know a thing or two about Norman. I've raised my children here, and I've been in the real estate industry for over 25 years. We work with over 25 entities that are involved in each transaction, and our team plays on both sides of the transaction to achieve a win for our realtors, lenders, builders, sellers, and buyers. When you sell your property, be sure to ask your agent to close with Titan Title and Closing here in Norman. You can contact us today at 405-689-8617. Again, that's 405-689-8617.
When students struggle because they are hungry
or fall behind because they lack school supplies,
a caring adult can make all the difference.
Especially someone from the community.
Someone who knows the students
and the obstacles they might be facing.
At Communities in Schools, our site coordinators surround students with a community of support
to ensure that they have everything they need to engage in learning.
We go all in for kids, all day, every day.
To learn more, visit communitiesinschools.org.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Feeling stuck in your current home? Now is the best time to make a move. Home Creations is making home ownership more affordable with low interest rate opportunities and special financing. Don't wait. Live like a champion today. Call Holly at 405-364-9999 to find your dream home.
364-9999 means Home Creations.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Dear hero, whoever you are, you save lives. I live with sickle cell and the pain and the issues that come along with sickle cell every day. I'm most grateful that people are willing to go out there and take their time, their blood, and give me new life. Because of you, I'm allowed to see my son grow up.
Giving equals living. Give blood. Replenish the supply. Learn more at hhs.gov/giveblood. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
I have a headache setting in, Grayson. I think
do
I
you
know
actually have
why.
a headache?
I
or-
do.
Okay.
No, I actually do.
Okay.
I think
I feel
know
bad
why.
for laughing at you now.
No, I'm actually kind of laughing at it too. So I know why this headache is setting in. It's an idiot headache. It's a headache spurred by having to deal with idiots on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line. The vast majority of you that listen and text in are not idiots, and I appreciate those of you that do interact with the show on a daily basis. Monster Truck Guy on the text line says, I used to get the dumb guy text voice a lot from TJ. Kind of felt like an honor. I miss that.
Also, look at Monster Truck Guy's last text that he sent to the KREF text line.
Yes, it was nearly a week ago. He said, I'd rather text you guys over my wife. We love you too, Monster Truck Guy. We do.
We cannot replace your wife.
In some senses, no, we can't.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just want to text us all the time, we're totally down for that.
We do read your texts over live airwaves. Texts over live airwaves.
J-Dub asks, how many current NFL rostered players played their college ball in D2 or lower? Without doing the research, I would say at least 50. They're good players at all levels. You just have to find them. Exactly. And guess what? Lest I be accused of stating otherwise, not every transfer that Oklahoma gets from the FCS level or from the Division II level is going to be any good. Some of them will simply be depth chart fodder. But that's just as much the case for P4 transfers, too.
Mm-hmm.
How many P4 transfers over the years have the Sooners taken that didn't amount to much of anything? Or when they did get on the field, didn't play great football? Need I run down the list? It's hilarious. First two names that pop into my head are Kenai Walker and Spencer Brown.
Yeah, those were pretty bad.
And now not only do I have a headache, but I want to poke my eyeballs out too. KW918 says, I think there's cause for pause for people because offensive development has been bad and the portal evaluations by the staff have been poor, to put it nicely. Spencer Brown, ring a bell. There we go, another Spencer Brown mention. I mean, on the whole, have the portal evaluations been poor? There have certainly been some poor evaluations. Have the bad ones outweighed the good ones? I don't know. I would have to look at the numbers offhand. Like, the Sooners have taken a ton of transfers over the first four off seasons, I guess, of the Brent Venables era. There have been some really good ones, though. There have been some really good players that came to Oklahoma via the transfer portal. And even the dudes that didn't become stars were guys that played crucial roles for Oklahoma at one time or another. A guy like C.J. Colden comes to mind. Or maybe he doesn't even spring to mind for many of y'all because his only season at Oklahoma was the lost year of 2022. But he played some awesome ball for Oklahoma. Awesome. Led the team in interceptions. As soon as he broke into the lineup, was playing lockdown ball out there on the outside pretty much all year. But I get what you're saying, K-Dub, and it's a valid point. 405 listener asks, how many guys Emmett Jones put in the league? I'm pretty sure Kale has more wide receivers in the league than EJ, and he hasn't coached in 3 years, LOL.
Well, hold on a second. Emmett Jones' first recruiting class at Oklahoma was the 24 class?
24 class, yep.
Those dudes aren't even eligible to be in the NFL yet.
No. So you'd have to look back at guys he coached at Kansas and Texas Tech, and I would be lying if I said I had a mental Rolodex of the Kansas and Tech guys that are currently in the NFL. Like Eric Ezukanma comes to mind. I've lost track of where he's at. I know there were some talented guys at both of those schools that he got his hands on. I don't know how many of them are in the NFL these days. A 972 listener asked, how has Jermichael Carter looked? I like his size. Well, I know the staff really likes him. They think he's got a lot of potential. They think he's going to play for Oklahoma in 2025. However, his very first practice with the team was this morning. So not a whole lot of, not a very large sample size to go off with Jermichael Carter.
What do you think his role is going to be?
I think it'll be highly situational.
Okay.
At least to start. He was touted as 6'4" when Oklahoma, like that's, I guess what he was listed at McNeese was 6'4". And so I think everybody figured when he got to town, OU's getting another tree. Right, this is the guy that's going to be Jaden Gibson until Jaden Gibson's able to get back to action. Maybe he's a better version of Jaden Gibson. Jermichael Carter's listed on Oklahoma's official fall roster at 6'2". So there doesn't seem to be quite the catch radius, Kirk Herbstreit, that most imagine there probably would be with Jermichael Carter. But 6'2" is still a formidable size for a wide receiver, right? And
yeah,
he's listed at 6'2", 199. So I'd throw him in the same barrel as like Zion Kearney, for instance, where he's not necessarily going to be able to jump out the gym and land every 50-50 ball the way that a guy like Jaden Gibson seems to be able to, just because of his sheer height and the length of his arms. But he's got a big body. That's going to be an advantage. He's going to be a contested catch weapon. You can see him having a role particularly in the red zone when Oklahoma gets down deep into opposing territory.
580 Mike Honcho says, is Jermichael Carter a tight end? That's a tight end's name if I ever heard one. No, he's a wide receiver. And Christy says, Walter Rouse, not a star, but filled a need and filled in nicely.
There you go, Christy. Good pull. Good pull. A 918 listener says, crazy how people think an excellent G5, FCS, or D2 player is unacceptable at Oklahoma, but want a kid fresh out of high school to start day one. Yes, there's inconsistencies in the logic, inconsistencies in the rhetoric.
That's
everywhere.
not a bad point.
Everywhere. We could spend a whole show tearing it down. We did receive a text from Doug from Norman's son, Alec. He said, "This is Alec. I am Doug from Norman's son.
We know.
Since this is the beginning of practice for OU and we have a relatively different team from last year's at a variety of crucial positions, is there an outcome in the first game against Illinois State that we need to look out for and have a little worry heading into the Week 2 game against Michigan?" I would caution against thinking that the Illinois State game is going to mean much of anything. And that's kind of how I feel every single year when Oklahoma opens their season, because almost invariably the first game the Sooners play every year is a cupcake game. I mean, a recent exception to that would be like 2019 when they kicked off with a non-con tilt against Houston on a Sunday evening. But more often than not, Oklahoma is playing an FCS or G5 opponent week one. It was Temple last year. Jackson Arnold threw 4 touchdown passes in that game. And the result, all in all, was quite deceiving. Oklahoma's going to romp against Illinois State. Oklahoma will probably hang 50-plus on Illinois State, win the game comfortably. The game will be well in hand by the end of the first quarter. So, game one is naturally something that everyone constantly, year over year, wants to draw implications from, wants to make conclusions based on. And I just don't know whether you're going to be able to do much of any of that this year or any year.
The way I look at this, because this thought popped into my head yesterday, if you end up taking anything from the Illinois game, that is a horrible red flag. If we have to take anything from that game, and I'll tell you what the warning sign would be. If Illinois State on the front line holds its own at the line of scrimmage against Oklahoma, that is a bad sign. Other than that, if it's positive, that's not really going to be much to write home about.
I guess the one thing I'd say is if you see a true freshman in the Illinois State game, if you see a newcomer starting to work into the rotations with some of the veterans, that's typically an indication that there's a larger role for that guy in the works. So could it be somebody like Elijah Thomas, perhaps? Could it be somebody like Cortland Guillory? If you see a true freshman working at any point with the second team or even the first team, even in the Illinois State game, that's generally an indication that there's a level of confidence within the staff about that player and what he can be. And it can serve as a launch pad for some of those younger guys. You know, I brought this example up earlier in the week, but you rewind to 2020 and Marvin Mims' big game against Missouri State. Yeah, it was Missouri State, but it was also a harbinger of things to come with Marvin Mims, because the opportunities that he converted in that game turned into more opportunities the following week and the week after that. And by midseason, he looked like the best player on Oklahoma's entire offense. And so I will be watching the true freshman against Illinois State. Outside of that, save your judgments for after the Michigan game. That would be my recommendation. Thanks to all of you that have tuned in throughout the show and interacted on the Knippelmeyer Chevrolet text line at 405-651-3439.
That was fun.
It was fun. Day one of practice is in the books. We'll get a practice availability tomorrow morning, so that'll be something. Have no doubt that we'll discuss that when we're back on air tomorrow. Same time, same place. But in the meantime, we will turn things over to Teddy Lehman and Tyler McComas, who kick off the rush on the other side. Keep it here on the Ref, the home of Sooner fans.